They want to be in charge. They want to hog the spotlight. You should want to avoid having this happen in your games, but what if you decide to engineer it? I ran a fantastic campaign that embraced and celebrated the main character, and it can be controversial, but I think it can make people better role players. And it's all because of a classic role-playing game that most gamers are scared to go near. If you spend any time lurking on the RPG subreddits, you'll see a lot of horror stories involving so-called main character syndrome. This is the name used for situations where one player is convinced they've created a better character than everyone else, and so the story of the campaign is about them, and some sidekicks and hangers-on. Maybe the character is a thinner than usual veiled version of themselves, maybe they're min-maxed to the horizon and back, but they want it to be all about them. This causes friction, resentment, but does it have to? In most fiction, there is a main character. In role-playing games, we're told not to have one. This can get weird. Imagine a superhero game where Batman is accused of stealing the limelight by assorted Robins. Or a Doctor Who game where Dan feels it's unfair that he isn't as important to the plot as, well, anything else. If you already have a player who always wants to be the main character, then I hope this approach would help. But I think it's an interesting way to get out ahead of the problem. So let's steal from the greats and let everyone have a main character. Just like in Ars Magica. Ars Magica is a brilliant game where the players take on the roles of magical scholars in 13th century France. I ran a long campaign of this over many years and had an absolute blast. Several of the players at the time still list it among the best role-playing campaigns they've ever played in, and I think that's partly down to the way the game setup brilliantly leads you to create main characters, many of them, and each one has a sort of sidekick. I'm going to explain this approach in the context of Ars Magica, but this could be easily used for several other genres. I'll put some ideas for those later in the video. Each player creates a mage, a wizard. There's many options for style, focus, and archetypes for this, so no two would ever be the same. But they create a wizard who would be brilliant fun to play, but who also has ongoing research projects. Maybe a better fireball, or longevity potions, or special detective spells, writing masterworks, advancing their knowledge. And if you go out on an adventure, you forfeit some of your progress. So naturally, each wizard really only wants to go on the adventures that align with their existing motives. Motives that you, the GM, cater for in rotation. The bookish scribe translating a lost tome of fairy lore isn't going to agree to give up their translations to investigate cultish murders in town as a favour to the bishop. You simply don't get two wizards on an adventure at once. And that's okay, because during character creation, everyone made extra characters. Each wizard has a companion, more than a sidekick, less than an equal, who isn't a wizard, but is a foil for them, providing them the skills they lack or supporting them in the field. Battle-scarred veterans, rogue exorcists, jesters, gravediggers with suspicious stitch lines and lisps. They're as much fun as the wizards to play, but definitely not magical per se. Some of them might even be longer-term relationships, partners, children of the mages, drunken brothers, and so on. But here's the thing. The player of the wizard does not create the companion. Instead, they buddy up with another player to make, essentially, a double act. Collaborative ideas for characters, paired up to bounce off each other in play. When I ran it, we had it that no two players were playing each other's companions. We sort of went clockwise instead. This meant that the next adventure, the people playing the two prime characters hadn't simply switched places in the hierarchy. As the campaign continues, one adventure per season, everyone gets rotated into the hot seat. And the intra-adventure discussion between the mages was hilarious back then. That was before WhatsApp or Discord. I can imagine it to be nuts now. And there's also grogs, Ars Magica's term for background characters, henchmen, guards, cooks, and so on, that the other players play if they're neither mage nor companion. And this provides an excellent opportunity to play up the fun of being low status. Begging your pardon, masters, but I do think the inners are fire, and also the enthusiasm that comes from knowing you're somewhat expendable, so taking risks isn't going to make your main character start from scratch. Grog characters aren't tied to specific players, and each can be played by anyone. The key to all of this is the division of advancement. The experience system gives each character project-specific advances for study, or training if this was a different setting, and those are only gained by not going on adventures. But if you need a specific resource or fabled item, or would want to advance your influence with one of the factions in game, then your wizard may be the only one who can go out there and get it. And if you stay at the home base all the time, you never get to use your shiny new spells. If you lead every adventure, you're hobbling your progress towards them. This can be used for any game where the characters are a wider community. I can see this working very well with a Supers game or any number of modern-day paranormal games. Of course, this isn't players who don't show up get all the XP. Please understand. Players still need to show up, but they will want to have a chance to play the fabulous reformed crusader or minstrel or obsequious blowhard that no one understands why Andrealphus insisted come and live with him. Ars Magica is currently in its 5th edition and had a reprint Kickstarter not long ago. Maybe I'll do an unboxing when my copy turns up. Check it out if you want a wonderful game with a singularly unique magic system that seems to scare people away from running it. I think it's actually fun and not that hard. I may do some more videos about Ars Magica and the campaign design lessons we can draw from it if there's interest in that. Of course, I'd need some sort of signal from you friends, so now's the time to hit like and subscribe. There are of course other group concepts that could work well with this, and if you want to know more about having the characters start as a team, then watch this video next.